Okay, let's look at solving with a radical here, in this case a square root. Now remember when you had square roots, like the square root of 9 was 3, the square root of 36 was 6, and the reason why is because 3 times 3 is 9, 6 times 6 is 36. So there's two of them, right? It's, a lot of times students will split them like this. And it's just understood there actually is a little 2 right there. So the square root, there actually is a little 2. So you'll see why when you solve something with a square root, to get rid of the square root, you square it. So even think about if I put the square root of 9 in parentheses and I squared it, if I did the inside first, notice what's under the square root just comes out. And a lot of times you'll hear students say that just cancels. So let's see if I can do this. So the first thing I want to do with this square root of x plus 66 equals x plus 10 is I want to get rid of that square root by squaring, and whatever you do to one side you need to do to the other side. And so based on this over here, when I square something with a square root, it just cancels out that square root. Now be careful here, this side is FOIL. So this actually means x plus 10 times x plus 10. So be sure you understand that's FOIL, so that's what x squared plus 20x, when you do those two terms there, and then 10 times 10 I believe is 100. Now since I see an x squared there, this tells me this is a quadratic equation. So I want to move everything to one side, and I'll kind of do that in this next step. I want to move everything to one side so it gets that quadratic look. And so from here now, oops, I lost my mouse. So from here I would have 0, because all of this is canceling out, x squared plus 19x plus 34. And I can either, from here throw this in the quadratic formula, or I can say, I wonder if I can factor this. And I know x times x, I think about 34 as 17 times 2. And if both of these are positive, a positive 17 times a positive 2 will give me a positive 34. 17 plus 2 gives me 19, so that looks good. I now set both of these factors equal to 0. And then I solve them, and I get x equals negative 17 and x equals negative 2. And you put that in for your answer, and it says you're wrong. And the reason why is you always have to check your work. It's called for extraneous roots, meaning can you really plug these values in? And I know that might be a little strange, but we're going to see why only the negative 2 is actually the answer. And this is where, students will not plug numbers back in, but you should always plug numbers back into the original equation. So the square root of x plus 66 equals x plus 10. If I plug in this negative 17 plus 66, negative 17 plus 10, notice that now I'm going to get 49, but over here I get negative 7. Well, the square root of 49 is 7, and that doesn't work. Okay, so you need to be careful on these, that you actually go back in and plug and make sure they work. I'm going to go ahead and do the negative 2 plus 66 equals negative 2 plus 10. So I can see this is going to be the square root of 64. This is going to be 8, and definitely that one checks. So this is why that is only your answer.